Hi everyone! In this video, I will show you how to create a die-cut title in Photoshop, a fun way to make your digital scrapbook pages stand out. We'll build the title step by step, clip pattern papers to the letters, and add strokes and shadows for that dimensional look. Let's get started. First, create a new 12 by 12 inch document at 300 pixels per inch with a white background. I've already got mine set up here. Next, grab the Move tool. Open the background paper you want to use. And here, I'm using one from Dutch Dream Designs October Mystery Bundle Kit. I choose this one because it goes perfectly with the photo I'll be adding later. So, click and drag the paper onto your new document and hold down Shift key while dragging to automatically center it when you release the mouse. In a Layers panel, double-click the layer name. It will say Layer 1 and rename it. I will rename mine Paper. In the toolbar, select the Horizontal Type tool. In the tool option, choose the font you want to use for your die-cut letter effect. I recommend using bold or chunky fonts, something with thicker strokes, because they make the cutout effect stand out more clearly and give your layout a nice dimensional look. You can try font like Abadi Empty Condensed Extra Bold, or Arial Black Regular, or LTC Gaudi Heavy Face Regular. And here, for this example, I'll be using Milker that I downloaded from thefont.com. Choose any text color you like. I will just stick with this color for now, and then just click OK. And then set the font size to 310 point. On the canvas, click once to start typing. We'll type the letters one at a time so that each one is placed on its own separate layer. This will make it easier later when we clip pattern papers to each letter to create that die-cut effect. For this layout, I'm going to title it Bewitched. So I will start by typing the capital letter B. You don't have to use capital letters if you don't want to. Go with whatever look best for your layout. I also recommend adjusting the size of your title to keep your layout balanced and visually pleasing. Now that we have our first letter ready, I'm going to move it slightly to the right to make room for the next ones. To do that, hold down Ctrl on the Mac Command key and click and drag the letter into its new position. And then click the check mark up top right here to commit the text. Next, click once on the canvas to type the next letter. Make sure to click far enough from the first one so you don't accidentally type on the same layer. And then type your letter and click the check mark in the option bar to commit the text. Again, hold down Ctrl, Mac Command key and click and drag the letter into place. This next part is optional, but if you like, you can use different colors for each letter to make your title more playful. To do that, go to the Tool options and click the Set Text Color icon. Choose the color you want and click OK. Repeat the same steps until you've typed out the entire word, adding a different color to each letter if you like, to make your title more fun and eye-catching. Here is what my title looks like now that all the letters are finished. I also resize all the letters into 245 point. Now, get the Move tool. We are going to rearrange the placement of some of the letters. For example, if you'd like the letter I to appear in front of the letter T, go to the Layers panel and click on the letter I layer and drag it above the T layer so it sits on top. If you want to resize or adjust the scale of a letter, open the Character panel. If you don't see it, go to the menu bar and choose Window, Character to make it visible. And then adjust the scale or the size of the letter as needed until you're happy with the arrangement. Once you're happy with the placement of each letter, take a moment to fine-tune their positions. As you can see here, I've moved and arranged the letters a bit closer together, letting some of them overlap slightly for a more natural layered look. Let's move on to clipping papers to your title. Don't worry if you want to rearrange the letters later. You can still do that after clipping. First, open all the papers you'd like to use for your layout. Click on the letter layer you want to add a paper to. And then click and drag the paper onto your canvas. In the menu bar, go to Layer, Create Clipping Mask. And here you can adjust and reposition the paper where you want your paper to be. So I will just adjust the paper a little bit right here. Okay. Repeat the process for each letter and then click on the next letter. So I'm going to click on this letter E and then drag the paper onto the canvas, and in the menu bar, choose Layer, Create Clipping Mask. If needed, you can resize the paper to fit the letter by pressing Ctrl T, Mac Command T, and adjust the size. When you're happy, just click the check mark to commit the transform. Continue this until all letters have their papers clipped. Want to make your letters really pop and give them that extra dimensional look? Let's add strokes or borders around each letter. It's a simple trick that makes a huge difference. In the Layers panel, click on the pattern paper layer of the letter you want to add a stroke to. For example, I will start with the pattern paper for the letter B. Since we want the stroke on top of the pattern paper layer, click on the pattern paper layer and then click the Create a New Layer icon at the bottom of the Layers panel. Rename this layer Stroke B. Next, hold down Ctrl, Mac Command, and click the thumbnail of the letter B to create a selection. Make sure the Stroke B layer is active by clicking it. Go to the menu bar and choose Edit Stroke. Set the stroke width to 27 pixels. Click the color box and choose a color. I will use an off-white here. And then just click OK and set the location to inside. Set the blending mode to normal and opacity to 100%. And then just click OK. Press Ctrl D, Mac Command D to deselect. Before we start rearranging all the strokes, let's create stroke layers for all the letters. Simply repeat the steps we used to add the stroke to the first letter for each remaining letter. Here is what my title looks like after adding strokes to all the letters. It might be a little hard to see the strokes right now since we haven't added shadows to the stroke layers yet. But before we add those precious shadows to the strokes, let's do a little cleanup around the edges. Look at these jagged edges right here and right over here. We want them smooth and rounded, not choppy. Let's do something about that. To get those smooth, rounded edges on your strokes, here's what we will do. In the Layers panel, click on the stroke layer you want to work on first. I will start with this one, the stroke D. Select the stroke by holding Ctrl, Mac Command, and clicking the layer thumbnail. And then go to the menu bar and choose Select, Modify, Smooth. Set the sample radius to 20 pixels and then click OK. Next, we will refine the corners using the eraser tool. Select the eraser tool or press letter E to get the eraser tool. And in the tool options, pick a hard round brush right here and then set the size to around 50 pixels and hardness to 100%. And over here, I will set the mode to brush and opacity and flow to 100%. Press Ctrl Shift I to inverse your selection. Carefully erase the jagged corners to make them smooth and rounded. Again, press Ctrl D, Mac Command D to deselect. And that's it. Your strokes now have clean, polished edges ready for shadows. Let's do it one more time. This time, I will do the stroke E. In the Layers panel, click on the stroke E layer. Select the stroke by holding Ctrl, Mac Command key, and clicking the layer thumbnail. Go to the menu bar and choose Select, Modify, Smooth. Set the sample radius to 20 pixels and click OK. And don't forget to press Command Shift I or Control Shift I if you are using Windows to invert your selection. And then Just carefully erase any jagged corners, like this one over here, and then over here, this one too. And then the last one right here. And then press Ctrl D, Mac Command D to get rid of the selection. Repeat these steps for all stroke layers until every letter has clean, smooth edges. Let's make our letters jump off the page. Adding shadows to the stroke gives you title depth, dimension, and that extra wow factor. But first, let's grab the Move tool. Just to be safe, we don't want to accidentally erase anything from our layout. And if you haven't saved your project yet, now is a great time to do that before we move on. In the Layers panel, select the first stroke layer you want to add a shadow to. So here in this example, I will click on the Stroke T layer and then go to the menu bar and choose Layer, Layer Style, Drop Shadow. In the Drop Shadow dialog box, adjust these settings for a subtle but noticeable effect. Blend mode to multiply, set the opacity to 65% and the angle to 120 degrees. Set the distance to around 10 pixels. Set the spread to 0% and set the size to around 15 pixels. And then just click OK to apply the shadow. Repeat these steps for each stroke layer so all the letters have shadows. You can tweak the distance or size slightly for different letters to make the effect more natural. Shadows can always be adjusted later, so don't worry if it's not perfect on the first try. Once you've added shadows to all the strokes, your title will look much more dynamic and dimensional, and the letters will really stand out. You can also add shadows to the letter layers themselves if you'd like. I'm just adding them to a few letters here just to give the title a bit more depth and variation. To make your title even more interesting and playful, try nesting some letters in between other stroke layers for a whimsical effect. For example, I'm going to place the W stroke in between the first stroke E layer and the pattern paper E layer. In the Layers panel, click on the stroke W layer. Hold down Ctrl, Mac Command key, and also click on the pattern paper and letter W layer. Move these layers below the first stroke E layer so the W sit nicely in between. This little adjustment adds a fun, playful touch to your title and makes the layout feel more dynamic. Next, I'd like to reposition all the letter D layers. Just like before, select all the D layers in the Layers panel. And then move them down so they sit between the second stroke E layer and the pattern paper E layer. Confused yet? Don't worry. Once you see it on the canvas, it makes perfect sense. What if you just want to move the stroke layer by itself? No problem. You can do exactly what I'm doing here with the stroke B layer. Simply click on the B stroke layer and move it up so it sits between the first stroke E layer and the pattern paper E layer. And here is the finished layout. All the letters have patterned papers, strokes, and shadows, and I've played around with the placement of some letters to add a fun, whimsical touch. You can see how these little details make the title dynamic, dimensional, and really eye-catching. Take a moment to look over your layout. Notice how the rounded edges, shadows, and playful letter arrangement bring everything together beautifully. Before we wrap up, let me show you a couple more examples of layouts inspired by this die-cut letter style. Each one uses the same basic technique, but with different colors, papers, and arrangements, so you can see how versatile this idea can be. You can keep your design clean and simple, or go bold and playful with mixed pattern papers and overlapping letters. The fun part is making it reflect your own story and style. That's it for today, my friend. I hope you enjoyed creating this stylish die-cut inspired layout. If you enjoyed this tutorial and found it helpful, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep on scrapping.